stop watching this video and start building. Hey, my name is Ezekiel, and my goal for this video is to get you to stop watching endless YouTube tutorials, but actually start building. Your problem is not that you lack the skills to build something. It's just you're afraid to take action. So today, my goal is to just give you a simple use case that you can start implementing. Yesterday afternoon, I got a text from a friend of mine. I've been working with her for several years. She's in the IT field and it's really technical. Her company just gave her access to n8n and she's getting overwhelmed with all this information. Now, for some of you who are watching this episode, you're probably in a similar boat. You've watched a lot of tutorials on Claude Code, on Hermes, on n8n, and there's always these new changes, new promises that AI can make your life better, can make you money, and you get overwhelmed with this information and you don't know what to do. Trust me, I've been there. And actually, to be honest with you, I took a break for about 2 to 3 weeks and I stopped listening to anything AI. I just had to step away from it because I was just getting overwhelmed. I was getting burned out. So today, what I want to do is I just want to do a simple build with you. Now, there's a lot of updates with Claude Code, with Hermes, Obsidian, a lot of these things, and these are great, and I use them a lot. But really what I want to give you today is just a simple framework. If you're just getting started with AI, my goal here is not to give you a tool or to recommend a technology. Maybe I would as we go along, but really my goal here is to give you a simple framework that you can use to really start implementing these AI tools in your current environment, whether that's in your personal, whether that's in your workplace. This framework that I'm going to give you today, these 2 simple questions that I'm going to give to you, you can use it whether using commercialized tools or whether you're using the tools only approved in your company. So when it comes to AI, like I said, my goal here is for you to stop watching and to start building. People all the time that AI knows the how, but it doesn't know the what. It knows how to build something, but what you're looking for, what you expect, what the limitations are, what the guardrails, the boundaries, that's something that you have to define for AI. The 2-step framework that I want to give you today is problem and payoff. Before you start building anything with AI, this 2-step framework that I'm giving you today, this can work whether you're building with Claude Code, with OpenAI, whether you're building something that the approved LLM that company gives you, whether it's agentic, whether it's just prompting and things like that. This framework will help because you start with a problem and then you start with the payoff. So what is the problem that you're trying to address and what is the payoff that you want to achieve? So for this use case, the problem that we're going to be addressing today is checking emails all the time. And the payoff is that we want to stop checking emails or stop checking it frequently and get some sort of digest. I have a friend of mine, he's a CFO for a company, and this is the problem that he has. He gets a lot of emails and he wants to get a reader's digest of what are the emails or what are the topics that he needs to be paying attention to. All right. So we're going to build this using n8n, using Claude. And then the email provider that we're going to be monitoring is one of my throwaway inbox in Gmail. The reason I want to start with n8n and not with Claude Code directly is that with Claude Code and Lovable, we can prompt AI, and this is not for you to become an engineer or a programmer, but it's for you to understand the end-to-end process. And that's the problem that I'm seeing when it comes to with AI is that a lot of us who are not technical, non-coders, even myself, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from the tuition that I paid for my mistakes of not having this framework is that you just start prompting AI and you give it bad instructions, garbage in, garbage out. And then it comes back to you with something that looks great, but it's not really what you're looking for. And then you present that to your team. And for me, I feel embarrassed because it's not what I want. And for some of us who are actually making this a side income or consulting with our companies, it's our responsibility to make sure that these systems will not break after 3 months. So I want to start with n8n because it's visual. In the past, when I started learning n8n, I would have to do it manually and do this and that. I think it's good too, just so you understand the flow. But the thing is with AI now, we don't need to do that. And I say that comfortably because as you can see in this build with n8n, you will still see the visual flow. All right. So again, so the problem is that I check emails daily and the payoff is I want to get like some sort of reader's digest and to stop checking it. So what we're going to do is so let me see if I can make this bigger. There you go. All right. So the problem is checking emails all day. So problem, payoff, right? So what is the problem that you're trying to solve and what is the payoff that you're trying to achieve? And the in between here that is the AI solution. That is your automation. That is your agent, right? What I want, so again, just brainstorming with AI for my daily inbox, I want it to run 3 times. I want to get an email at 6 a.m. that talks about the last nights that I must know. And then at 12 p.m., when I go to my lunch break, I want to get a digest between 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. of what actually matters. And then number 3, before I clock off for the day, I want to get a sweep before I sign off, right? And then any marketing emails, all that stuff, I want it to just automatically mark it as read because I don't want, those are just noise. So I'm not saying that I'm not gonna go into my inbox, but when I go to my inbox, I want these things to be marked red because I don't want that noise. I just want to know the important one. How are we going to start with the process? How do we do this, right? So number 1 is start with your process. Name the problem and what we talked about. That's our framework. And then visualize before you build. So this is very important. So again, whether it's n8n, whether it's Claude Code, you want to be able to visualize what you're looking for. So here's an example of another project I'm working on this week. Let me see if I can pull it up. All right. So here's another project that I was working on this week. So I'm building some sort of RAG system for our company. So what I'm doing here is that I'm visualizing what I'm trying to build. So before I go into Claude Code, before I go into n8n, I would visualize first conceptually what I want to do, right? So I can see the end-to-end workflow. So that's what we want to do here, right? So for here, we're just going to go in. You don't have to do this by hand, but you can just tell Claude what you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to just say, actually, this morning, I already wrote it here, what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm just going to paste it here, but I'm going to have Claude kind of clean it up. So I'm just going to give it up, just extract the actual process that we're going to be building. I'm going to be building this in n8n, but right now I just want to see the end-to-end workflow, how it's going to look like. And then I'm going to build it in n8n. All right. So what I did, I pasted that raw notes to Claude. It's digesting it for me right here. So let me extract the actual workflow. You can see the end-to-end inbox cleaner runs, digest runs. All right. So this is really cool. So Claude is going back and forth to us and asking us questions. So I'm going to say same run, each scheduled, 1 combined run each 3 times. So for example, like this one for the demo, I'm not really reading this thoroughly. I'm just going to say, hey, can you give me your recommendation? So I'm just going to say, I'm going to rely on his recommendation. We're going to be using Gmail for our workflow. Where does the digest get delivered? Single summary email to you. We can put it in Slack, text message, both email and other channels. So we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to say deliver to me. All right. So we're going to do that. So here's the framework, the trigger. So, and then it's going to describe how it flows. All right. So here's the schedule trigger, fetch unread, and it does the classification. If it's marketing, mark as read, keep for digest, FYI, mark as read, summarize to keep. All right. So again, for the purpose of this demo, I just want to walk you through the end-to-end process. Of course, when you're doing this, you want to spend more time, have that back and forth communication with Claude, with AI. But for this one, I'm pretty comfortable with this one. We'll go ahead and go with this one. So I'm just going to say, hey, Claude, this looks good. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to say, hey, this is good. But yeah, this is good. Go ahead and build the n8n workflow for me. So for this one right here, as you can see, I'm on Opus 4.8 right now. What's Fable available? Yeah, Fable 5 is available until July 12th. So when I'm doing this when I'm building something with AI, I like to use the highest model, especially when building something like this. The way I illustrate it is like working with an intern or working with a senior engineer. The smarter models, they're more expensive, but if you think about it, it's actually less cheaper because what happens is that it's able to think better, in my opinion. But again, at the end of the day, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? What I like to do is I would use a cheaper model like Haiku or Sonnet to do kind of like the brainstorming. And then for the actual building, I would switch to Sonnet, or I would switch to Opus, or for this case, Fable 5, because it's available right now. So we're going to go ahead and build it, and I'm going to just hit send. All right. So right now it's building the n8n workflow, and we're just going to wait. Now, I think last time I checked for n8n, it has a connector here. So this is connected to my n8n. So this is my n8n. I'm going to go ahead, but yeah, so it's connected as always. So I'm going to say allow, but I'm going to show you if you don't have that connection, how to download the blueprint or the JSON file. Because at the end of the day, n8ns are just a JSON file. That's what I love about it, to download that and then put that in n8n. So let's go ahead and just wait while this builds. Let's see. One of the things that I like to, or one of the bad habits that I have when Claude is building something is on another something, like another build. And that's something that I try to break because you just really want to focus on your build. So two things that you can do while you're waiting for Claude. Number one is you can get your coffee or you can stretch. Or number two is that you can just type out notes on what you want to do next, right? If you have an idea, if it's waiting something like this, just pull up your Apple Notes, your Google Notes, or your Google Docs and just type in some of the next steps that you want, some question that you might have with Claude. Oops. All right. So it's asking to allow. Or actually, there's a third thing is for me, like I said, I use this visualization. Just go back to your infographic, go back to your visualization and to see, is there anything that I'm missing that I need to tell Claude? So again, here we're using Claude as our thinking partner. So it's validating the workflow right now. So I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've done this, how it's connected to n8n. And again, the AI is getting better and better. Now, you're probably asking for some of you who are watching this, hey, can I just ask Claude to connect to my Gmail and do that? Yes, you can. So as you can see here, my Claude is connected to my Google Calendar, to my Descript. It's connected to a lot of the applications that I use. But again, the reason I'm showing it this to you this way is to understand the visualization, is for you to understand the end-to-end process. Because like here, for example, it's telling me this, right? But then I don't really understand. It's like a black box. I don't really understand what's going on, right? And the same thing for the Gmail too. And especially for those of you who are learning AI and you want to implement this in your company, you want to implement this with your team, you want to implement this as a business, like what I do, I have my consulting practice. I need to understand, I need to be able to trace how the AI came up with that solution. All right. So it looks like it already created it here. What's really crazy is that in a span of less than 10 minutes, it created our first blueprint for us. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one and it opens here. So this is my n8n instance. Oops. So here, so the one thing I do want to point out that it's with AI, with this, it does, I would say like 60, 70%, but still you still have the 30 to 40% to take it to the finish line. So I like how actually it created a note for us here. So if we look at here, I think if we expand this, yeah. So it has more stuff here. It creates that documentation for us. And I didn't even tell Claude to do that. And I really like how it did that. So let me just clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna close this here. So it looks like it connected it to my Gmail already. It didn't ask where I wanna connect it to. All right, so let's see what's happening here. This is let's see, can I delete this one? I'm gonna delete this one here because I wanna put there you go. It's just cleaner that way. And then it's using this model. Let's see here, Anthropic. So let's see. It's using my Anthropic account. It has all right, that's fine. And let's see what model it's using. It's using Sonnet 4.6. And then this is the prompt for the AI. You're an executive assistant, write a short scannable email digest. All right. So we're going to go ahead and then it's going to my unread emails, 50 limit. I'm going to connect it to my personal one. All right. So I'm going to say Gmail account. So you want to rename this one. So this is my personal save. So it's going to manage my personal inbox. All right. And then FYI is read. It's going to mark it as read. So again, it's my personal. And then also send the digest to my personal. All right. So we're going to go ahead and execute this one. And let's just see how it goes. So see here, we have an error. So let's see what the error is. So now when you experience this type of error, let me see here. Let's move myself here. So when you experience this type of error and you don't know what it is, you can just copy it. And then just say to Claude, go back here. And you say, I ran the workflow and got this error, please advise. All right, so there you go. So I'm just copying that's one of the things I love about N2 is that I like how it's giving you like the error details like this. The make.column, it's really hard for some of the stuff that I've tried. But yeah, it's doing this one. Let's see what happens. All right. So it's going to go ahead and try to fix it. So what's really cool is that as you can see here, Claude is doing the fix for me here. So that's really cool, right? So it's saying, hey, what changed? Now it returns all with empty limit remove. Now it's actually, now the empty was the culprit. It was being sent to GradeFest. So it's saying that the problem is that it required an integer, right? So what you need to do is just refresh this one. All right. And then you can see that. So it's returning all. So what happens was that this one right here, I think a number, it got deleted. So now it's going to do this. All right, so let's do this. You know what, for testing, I'm just going to say limit to 10, right? So I'm just going to say 10 and then let's do that. All right, so it's just going to return 10 emails. Again, just for testing, just for you to see how it works. So again, this is what I love about n8n before you dive in. I think this is the first step before you dive into Claude Code, is that you can see what's happening here, right? So it's saying here that I had 10, that it ran, it fetched 10 emails, it's marking as read, and then now we're experiencing this error right there. All right, so we got an error here. Oh, because it doesn't have my email. You know, one of my emails here. So I'm going to send it to this email. This is like this is my throwaway email. So I'm going to send it to this email, send it to one of my throwaway emails, and then execute. Oh, it's waiting for, all right. So it looks like it sent it. All right, let's go back. And I'm not sure why, to be honest with you, I'm not sure why it has this loop. It doesn't need to have this loop, but let's see. All right, so there's no email require my attention. There's nothing there. All right, so what we can do is, so nothing there, right? So what happens is I get a lot of junk mail. So shows you that I'm not important. That's weird though, because there's something here. Yeah, let's see here. What happened here? Let's see what happened. Box. So you can see also the table. Let's see what email it pulled. Yeah, so it looks like it's just pulling. It's pulling category updates from Google. Hello, the feed. So we can test it too. All right. The heck, where did it get from? All right, so it looks like it pulled it from 837. I did have another email. I was thinking of this one, but that was from last night. But let's see. Let's go back to inbox and so on. So yeah, so for this one, there's nothing just because of the use case. But really here, that's basically like what I wanted to illustrate. Let's make it to, I would say, I don't know, 50. Let's do 50. You get a lot of emails. All right, let's just run it again and see what happens. All right, so it's running again, marking as read. So as you can see, it's pulling up emails. You can look at the JSON, and then you can look at different views. Same thing here. If you have questions, you can copy this full thing, paste it to Claude, and then ask it questions, right? So let's go back to the n8n here. So now it's going to the AI. It's doing some, and then sends an email. So let's go back to this one, see if there's anything. No email data was provided. So I got this. Please resubmit with populated emails objects, and I'll generate that digest right away. So it looks like something happens here. So I got this. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. All right. So again, got this error. So let's see. Schema. Let's see. No email data provided. So we can just tell. Again, we can just troubleshooting it. Go back to this. All right. And say, hey, Claude, tried it again and got this error. Please help fix. All right. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to stop right here because the beauty about this one is that you saw my process from end to end. Start with the problem, identify the payoff, and the in between here. That is the automation. That is the solution that you're trying to build. Now, when you're building the solution, again, start with defining your process, define it from end to end, and then visualize it similar to this one, similar to the example that I've seen. And then have Claude Code synthesize your kind of like your raw information. I use Whisperflow just to tell Claude what I'm trying to do and then build it. And then, like I said, I recommend if you're starting out, use a tool like this, n8n, no code, low code, just so you can see how it works. You can see how the different nodes, how the data flows from one node to the next, and you can visualize and see. So you can see where the problems are. And as you can see here, when there's issue with Claude, when you run into errors similar to this one, copy and paste it and send it to Claude and have Claude fix it, have Claude troubleshoot it for you. For the demo, I'm going through quickly, but what I like to do is I try to understand. Usually I would ask Claude, explain to me in 5 to 10 sentences what you're trying to tell me or what decision you need from me. Yeah, but this is pretty much it. It's going to fix it. Again, going back to my point today, stop watching and start building. The only way for you to really understand the capabilities and the limitations of what these AI tools can do is if you actually start playing with it. There's a lot of news out there. People are scared that AI is going to take their jobs. But from experience, when I talk to these people have not even played with AI. A lot of these people don't even play with ChatGPT, and they're listening to what the media is telling them of what AI will do to them, and they've actually haven't really played with it. But again, you won't understand the capabilities and its limitations by just watching videos, but you need to start building. If you like this videos, do me a favor, hit subscribe, and also comment below what is your next step. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is helpful to you, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you.